What a monster. Let's do the intro. Also, on here, these. Hey. You probably don't even, you're not even here. But if you're watching this later, hi, welcome to Watcher DM. I'm Gabriel. That's what they call me. You know what? I'm being called away. I'll be right back. Lol. Okay. Hi, I'm Gabriel. This is Watcher DM. Sorry for the delay. I am gonna start doing a thing that I said I was gonna start doing the other day. So that's happening now. Let me go to my D&D prep. It says I already have a chat, so let me go see what the chat message is. It's a little impromptu. I wasn't necessarily planning on doing this, so thank you for your patience. Your dashing good looks. Go. It says I already have a chat, so let me go see what. Okay. Excellent. News of my chat were greatly exaggerated, which is fine. All right. So here is the move. Here's the plan. I have a master plan. My plan is I want to use Knock. I want to use all the content from Knock. Now, it would be impossible, pretty much impossible, for me to like keep the contents of all these Knock articles in my mind at all times. There's some amalgam that's going to go on in there, but there's lots and lots of useful, practical, usable stuff in the Knock magazines. And I want to make a way for me and others to be able to use these articles kind of more quickly and at the table. So, what I'm going to do to achieve that goal is I am going to put together a database in Notion. Author's probably going to be long. That contains the name of the article. It will contain the author's name, so credited. It will contain the issue number, the page number, so you can find it in your Knock magazine. And then I'm going to tag it as best I can with these tags. Now, I think it's probably worth saying that like one-man tagging isn't probably enough. So I think the end goal of this will be to create a thing that people can go to and go like recommend tags to. But we got to start somewhere. And by golly, we're starting here. So let's dive in. Knock issue 1. Being a compendium of miscellanea without space for, it's hilarious, for use with old school role-playing games. Good old Copic. I see this guy's maps all the time. Nicholas Wisted. Yeah, they're great. I love these little trap maps. They're really, really good. D12 pamphlets found in a dungeon. Sure. That's not really an article, right? It's just kind of an extra thing. We're going to leave it off the list for now. We'll come back to it if we have some room or a good conceptual way to put that stuff in. The contributors list, which is nice because this is going to give us our list of contributors. And more importantly, I think it will give us... Oh, interesting. Yeah, so that should be Cave Girl Games. .blogspot. Pull up this website here and see if I can make it make sense. That's not gonna happen. Cave Girl Games. Yeah, so one thing I would really love to do, I don't know if this is possible, but if it's possible at all, I would like to find these articles as they originally existed on the internet and link them here as well. So that if you don't have Nock, you could still make use of this resource. But if I'm being totally honest, I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if all this stuff is on the internet. And I'm the kind of guy who likes to drink one ocean at a time. So first, my first ocean is just going to be reproducing this table of contents over here. What I want in an OSR game. Easy. A comparison of old and ampersand new D&D. Oh no, it's and. Monster design from the classic. Yeah, I think that's right. Does energy drain suck? Wizard weaknesses. Honestly, one of the things that I want to use probably the most. Get your gear! Exclamation. The retired adventurer is ... Dungeon checklist. What kids RPGs are missing? Wandering monsters should have a purpose. Oops. A purpose in wandering around. Hit die are meant to be rolled. $20 gunpowders. Don't know what that is. Naming my game. Expose your prep. Encourage scheming. Why setting high stakes matters. What's the deal with Igor's hump? Question mark. Good old Young Frankenstein reference there. some ways of killing D&D people. Rulings, not rules, is insufficient. Guess I should probably forth here. Okay, rulings, not rules, is insufficient. My goblins are ... The labors of Heracles as OSR obstacles. What do the monsters want? I feel like, is that the actual the monsters know what they're doing original article? Because that'd be super interesting. Save versus actual death, question mark. Okay. So this is the first half, and none of these are linked. So we're going to go to page 68 here and just try and knock some of these out. Now, easy, before we get too far, I can just, whoops, tag all these with 1. And here, we can say this goes on page 8, 12, 16, 19, 20, 25, 28, 30, 38, 39, 42, 6, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 59, 61, 64, and 67. Cool. So we got all those out of the way. What I want OSR game. Oh, I wonder if it borked up these. Might have borked up the font because I did save. So I was having problems with this in the original file that they sent me wouldn't open in Adobe Acrobat Pro. And so I opened it in Publisher, in Affinity Publisher, and resaved it. So I think there's some stuff here that's probably a little wonky. But that's okay. Because I don't need to solve every problem right now. I can just solve the easy ones. So this is by Brooks Daly. And yeah, what I want. So for me, the OSR has always had a very specific appeal. I don't need it to be my end-all, be-all general tool. I've got a dozen other options for the character-focused, narrative-heavy drama. Instead, OSR games are at their best when treated as an intentional, focused experience. In a time when the current edition of D&D is a kitchen sink experience, the attraction of OSR is what makes these games different. Objectives. Challenge-based gaming. Most of the games I love actively embrace failure. Burning Wheel, Apocalypse World, even my own work in progress, Souls and Sword and Scoundrel, and similar games are all designed to fail forward. Failure is not only an expected part of the game, it's relied upon to drive the narrative forward. You're not playing these games to accomplish things, you're playing them to see what happens. OSR design takes the opposite approach. Most games in this class base XP on 2 categories: defeating enemies and recovering treasure. These are both objective-based reward mechanics. If you want to advance, you have to succeed. You must actually accomplish something to move forward. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a tragic, twisting narrative, but sometimes I just want to be challenged. I want my players incentivized to be their smartest, most resourceful selves and be rewarded when they overcome challenges set before them. Okay, so we're talking about encounter-based high adventure, oracular dice, and impartial adjudicator, player skills, and fictional engagement. Adventure as expedition, and I think that's kind of it. So I think maybe the first thing I'm going to do actually is see if I can find this article anywhere else. So we're just going to do a search for what I want. In an OSR game by Brooks Daly. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like that blog post is up online anywhere, so it probably... Yeah, it probably does not exist outside of the magazine, which is good. What isn't a role-playing game? A final note. Interesting. Man, you fall into some rabbit holes out here. All right, so I think that this is going to fall under the pretty ambiguous DM advice, maybe like a goals of play, statement of purpose kind of thing. And yeah, we're just going to leave that there as the tag for now. And we will accumulate some more tags when we get to some more meaty, beefy, cakey stuff. A comparison of old and new D&D. This is by Gavin Norman. As a longtime D&D player who has returned to playing a 30-year-old version of the game, I thought it would be interesting to write a bit about my experiences with the venerable game and why I'm now so much happier to be playing a very early incarnation of it. So yeah, let's see if this exists on the internet. A comparison of old and new D&D. Gavin Norman. So it looks like it is up there on. Let's see if it's the same article, I guess. A long time D&D player. Yep. Cool. So this one exists on the internet. So I am, in fact, going to add another property here, and it'll just be called link, and it will be a URL. I will paste the link here, so we'll have that. Played second edition a lot during my teens. Same hat. Gradually drifted away from role playing in my 20s. Kind of. D&D 4, I kind of skipped. Third edition Pathfinder was great. The defining factor seems to be the terseness and sparsity of older D&D rules. Yeah, lack of a system, improvisation. Yeah. Okay. So I think this one is going to maybe fall under like retrospective. And This is also kind of a goals of play document, right? It does talk about like this is not a game of rules, improvisation, growing characters versus character builds. Less is more, saying yes. So I think this is like a goals of play and statement of purpose as well, although it isn't explicitly DM advice. Ooh, Cocktail Codex. The monster design from Classics. See if that's a thing. Monster design from Classics by Chris McDowell. Okay. Yeah, so this article exists on the internet. This is by Chris McDowell. I'm spelling that right? Okay, I am. And okay. So the article here, the Cocktail Codex, which is gone. So there's a link in this article, in this blog post, to deathandcookbook.com or deathandcobook.com books Cocktail Codex HC. It doesn't exist anymore. Makes a bold claim that there are only 6 cocktails, with all recipes being able to be linked at least tangentially to one of these root recipes. It's pretty cool. So I think his pitch here is that there are a bunch of like creatures or monsters that can be derived from the root monster of the Lich. And I think he describes that amazing Lich art, by the way. So he describes the orthodoxy of the Lich as he's got some stats. So strength 7, dex 7, charisma 18, 15 hit points, has a ceremonial dagger, and has lots of spells. That's all defined here. The orthodoxy is great magical powers, physically weak, themes of greed and immortality. And then he starts experimenting with the core. In this case, the core of the Lich is its magical powers, which contrast its physical weakness. We can move the focus to psionics. We get the Mind Flayer. We can tighten down the magic powers to a single extraordinary ability to give us the Medusa, Doppelganger, Dryad, and even the Rust Monster. Interesting. So he's kind of putting the stake in the ground that like everything is a Lich. Not everything, but like, you know, kind of the way that we think of like all, yeah, I guess all reptiles are lizards, even though it's not true. Like, you know, lizard is like, yeah, categorization can get pretty broad, I guess. We can think things closer to arcane magic and focus, or we can keep things closer to arcane magic and focus on a particular school to get classics like the Evil Necromancer. You can tip the balance slightly, giving them more modest magical powers in exchange for appearing in greater numbers, and being a touch more hardy to get drow and gnome that still rely on magic and trickery over their swords. And of course, the point of this is to help us create new monsters. So what if we focus on summoning magic? The Elemental Conduit, we have a Tome Golem, and then the Eternal Apprentice. So I think what we get out of this is some monster creation theory. And then I think we get Lich and Caster. Yeah, we'll say we get some casters out of it. All right. Does Energy Drain Suck? By Gabor Lux. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And let's see if we can find this article. Does energy drain suck? Old school energy drain on Reddit. Okay. So this does not look like it still exists, at least as it's presented here, which is just kind of like a little one-page thing. So I think that's probably fine. I'm missing something here. And here we go. Hey, man. Oh, cool. All right, so this is a one-pager. These rules may help if you think it does. White's wraiths, and other lesser undead drain 1d6 constitution. Spectres, vampires, and other greater undead drain 2d4 constitution. Shadows drain 1d6 strength. Scores recover at a rate of 1 per day. A character drained to 0 and a score is lost and becomes an undead of the given type. With these changes in effect, undead represent a greater immediate threat but do not damage long-term character viability. Yeah, this is a yeah. So I think this will be alternate rule system, and we'll call it level drain. So it's an alternate system for level drain. I think that's probably fine. There isn't a public link for that. Wizard Weaknesses by Daniel Sell of Troika fame. So we'll say Wizard Weaknesses by Daniel Sell. What would Conan do? I don't think this is the article. Oh no, it is. It absolutely is. Yep. Here we go. Some wizards, tower wizards, necro wizards, lonely wizards. Great. So we have our blog post. Boom. We have our author. Boom. Now this is cool because it presents a D66 table for wizards. So we can clearly tag it with wizards. And we can tag it with weaknesses. So if we're looking for monster weaknesses, we can also tag on that. So that's pretty great. Gosh, this makes me want to roll. I'm going to roll one. Let's just do it. 53. Being fully undead has many, many problems. Minor injuries become permanent problems, and the smell is awful. Your joints get all gunked up, and so on. Why not just have an undead heart? While it still beats in his chest, he is immensely robust. Somehow, he can function without it. I don't know how. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Fine, though. It's good enough. Good enough for issue 1. There's the rest of our D66 table. Get your gear. Roll D66. So this is by Good Deal Nabok. And get your gear by Good Deal Nabok. Okay. Interesting. Yep. Guess that's not a thing here, but that's okay. We will just put the author here. And this is, I think we'll describe it as a loadout. And it'll be D66. So it'll be one of our D66 tags. All right. The retired adventurer is. Let's roll one of these two actually. Let's just see what we get. Entry 1-2 is Brigantine, leather helmet, Morgenstern. Morgenstern? It's Morgenstern. Cutlass, nice pair of leather gloves, fragile telescopic periscope in a gift package. Interesting. Sounds bougie. This is great. Yeah, it's Luca Raic. Cool. Oh, this is an article. Okay, cool. Yeah, the retired adventurer. Oh, interesting. The title changed. So the village's local retired adventurer dot dot dot, and then like the actual article in the table of contents was called the retired adventurer is. So let's see if that's retired adventurer is by Daniel Sell. Then we'll try the village's local retired adventurer. Retired adventurer, a blog about role-playing games. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so that is not available online anywhere that I can find. Let me know if you do know where any of these are, by the way, that I'm unable to find. I think in this case, we are looking at NPC generator, and we'll just go ahead and call it. We'll put retired adventurer here. Seems good. Okay, dungeon checklist. Sometimes I write dungeons. Today I wrote a checklist of things to put in the dungeon. The first couple items are pretty obvious, but it's still good to enumerate their usage. This is by Arnold K. So let's do a quick search for dungeon checklist by Arnold K. Arnold K is apparently Goblin Punch. It is. Okay. Do we have is it like Arnold Kaufman? Who are you? What's your name? Their profile. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So we have the full article here, which is great. It's on Goblin Punch. So we can just put this here. This is by Arnold K. And I'm just going to put here that it's on Goblin Punch. And let's tag this. So I think this is going to be some DM advice. It'll be dungeon creation, and it will include a checklist. So if we find other things that include checklists, that's useful, by the way. This looks like a really eminently useful article. And just to give the high level Cliff's notes here, something to steal, something to be killed, something to kill you, different paths, someone to talk to, something to experiment with, something the players probably won't find. So yeah, something snuck away, stashed away like a little bag of beans. So I think that is good. And What Kids RPGs Are Missing by Ben Milton. What Kids RPGs Are Missing by Ben Milton. Interesting. Oh, hold on. What? Dude. Dude. Is this effing real? Okay. I think I just found the list. Yep. Yep, I just found the list. So apparently somebody has already done what I'm doing in terms of getting the links together. So that's pretty cool. This one was Does Energy Drain Suck? Which is apparently in a product. So, mileage may vary there. What I want from OSR games. What I want in an OSR game. Cool. Let's see here. I also wonder if these are tagged. Yeah, so this is labeled game design OSR. Interesting. Huh. All right. Well, I'll consider maybe putting some of those tags in. What about this one? Get your gear. Oh, okay. Get your gear is just a random table. It does not have. There is not a blog post. Also, what kids RPGs are missing is not a blog post. So Ben Milton is the author. This will be, guess, goals of play. Okay, let's see here. Fifth grade girl, about 11 years old, is DMing D&D with a circle of boys in the playground of the school where I teach. I sat down to play along. She is having everyone roll a die. Where are we? We're in hell. Why are we all rolling dice? Hades cursed us to pick up his room. We're going to see if we can put away all the clothes. Can I teleport out of here? I'm a magic user. Nope, there's too many clothes. Rolling continues until someone rolls a natural 20. Everyone cheers. Hades teleports you all out of here. Roll a die to see where you end up. 12. You're on the top of a tree, a palm tree. Everyone else rolls. They're in a tropical village nearby. Me, I want to climb down. DM, roll a die. It works. Me, I want to find out who's in charge of this place. DM, roll a die. Use your charisma. I'm not charismatic. You have no idea who's in charge of the village. A lady walks by and is like, who are you? I want to find out who's in charge. Charisma roll succeeds. You see a huge mansion on the hill as an enormous billboard next to it saying, the guy in charge. Okay, let's analyze this. There was almost no railroading, apart from not being able to escape Hades' bedroom. It was a total improv sandbox where you could try anything and the DM would come up with a result. Second, there was no cutesy theme, no polish. Character sheets were hand drawn and photocopied. Character art was about what you would expect. Half rabid enthusiasm, half bored doodles. That's great. There was no moralizing, no paternalizing, no appropriateness filter. Yeah, sure. Fourth, there was no emphasis on storytelling of any kind, no narrative mechanics, no personal goals. There was also no combat, although I have observed sessions this DM runs with combat. The focus was on immersion and doing what you found to be entertaining. Exploration and amusement were king. The DM let herself be surprised. So, skipping to the end here, they want to be a character like the one this DM was using Spike, a chaotic neutral fire dog rogue with claws, fire fangs, and 76 fireball. Interesting. Okay. I guess this is like kids. We'll just put kids. Goals of play for kids. Seems fine. Wandering monsters should have a purpose in wandering around. Let's see. Looks like, okay. So this is a 10-foot poll article. He then links to, okay. Yeah, so the original article is here. Yeah, the above wandering monster table in one form or another is present in the vast majority of adventures. Sometimes monster stats are listed, sometimes they are not, and it sucks. That's fair. So I'm going to say this is dungeon creation. Wandering monsters. Just because it's advice for that sort of thing. Oops. Put it in the wrong field there. And this is by Bryce Lynch. All right, let's move on. Oh yeah, this is great. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, they did this. They redid the Wandering Monsters table with an extra dimension, right? So it's a D6 and a D4, I guess. And yeah, so the centipedes are tracing letters in the dust, laying eggs in a dead body, wrapped around a meditating monk, sloughing their old skin and mutating into larger ones. That's awesome. Right. Hit dice are meant to be rolled. Thinking about hit dice. Okay, so it looks like the original blog post article for this is gone. This is by Eric Uden. And what's the point of having mechanical hit dice if you don't roll the dice when you get hit? At least after 40 years of D&D, someone made the rolling hit dice a small part of the game, but we definitely can do better. So hit dice is a soak mechanic. It's kind of interesting. Level BX Thief, you have 3d4. 5th level Unearthed Arcana Barbarian, you have 5d12. This should work with most D&D adjacent games. So hit dice is a free pool. I kind of like that. Hit dice as stamina is cool. Hit dice as risk dice. I could not include this one. Risk dice are meant to track dwindling resources and threats inching ever closer. They have one hit dice. Okay. Maybe a scar, painful blow, death, dying, and healing. So this will be alternate system. Hit dice, level. No, not level drain. Level. Yeah, I think that's probably fine. And yeah, we don't have the original article. Unfortunately, this did screw up my stuff. So I'm just going to have to deal with the reality of that. And next time, like the other article, the other issues of Knock don't have this issue. So I'll do more rigorous double checking beforehand to make sure that, I can read all these articles. I have the physical books, so I'll be reading them independently to like kind of get deeper into these. But oh, interesting. So they made a 20 gunpowders. Okay, who said there should only be one type of gunpowder in the dungeon verse? Okay, that's kind of cool. Let's see here. So 20 gunpowders is just a random table, and it is a D20 table. So we'll create that, and we'll say gunpowder. I guess we could also like maybe tag it with firearms just so that if I'm looking for firearms, I can find interesting gunpowders to put in. That all looks really cool. Like non-linear powder is made with crystals normally used by planeswalking magicians. When used, roll a d6 to know when the bang is heard. When you shoot as normal, at a time of your choosing but in the same place, at a time of the referee's choosing but at the location you are at the time, just before the shot, so your target was able to partially dodge. Roll damage with this. That's interesting. Yeah, those are cool. Cool ideas. Naming my game. Here's a bit of an epiphany I had. If I had to sum up the kinds of games I'd like to play in a single term, the term I'd like best wouldn't be old school Renaissance or Dungeons and Dragons or DIY RPG or even role playing game, but adventure game, I think. So naming my game. Oh, let's see here. Adventure game versus OSR. This is the original article here. And this is by Ben Milton. And I guess this is naming. And maybe like statement of purpose kind of stuff. I don't think it really falls outside of that category, so. Expose your prep. You've probably heard the phrase attack every part of the character sheet from Arnold K. So this is Chris McDowell speaking. And let's see if we've got a link to this. It looks like we do. Thank God these nerds never give up, man. All right, expose your prep. I find that the crime of giving too much information is minor in comparison to the heinous crime of giving too little information. I lead with a good chunk of info, give good answers to good questions, and I want to give even more if the players are crafty. So what should you do to reward these exceptional player actions? Expose the map, expose the NPCs, expose the future, expose the tables, expose the mechanics. Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, I definitely, I can see that in his design. Like, having run Mythic Bastionland recently, I definitely use like talking about what I'm doing, like, okay, let's roll the wilderness die, or even putting it on the player character and saying like, okay, you're going to make the wilderness check, like, so they understand how the mechanic works and they know in the moment what the tension is and can kind of answer their own question in a way. So I kind of like that. That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I don't know what that really falls under. I guess it's DM advice. And it's information sharing, I think, maybe conceptually. But I don't know that it really has much more usable information than that. I do like though that like it's got some characteristics to it that are like beyond what I was just talking about, right? So exposing the map is good. Like if your players are smart and they seek the high ground or something, like, okay, you can see this, farther away on the map or something like that. Exposing NPCs is really good. That's kind of like how scan works in most like computer RPGs. So like you use the scan ability and it tells you the current hit points and like the abilities of the monster, its defenses or whatever. And I've always liked using that kind of stuff. In fact, one of my favorite games that I played in was a 5e game where Gabe Hadley ran like a monster hunt of a Catoblepus. And we had to like go to these different locations and kind of gather clues from the environment. And as we would gather clues, that gave us insights about the Catoblepus's like threats and weaknesses. And like so when we fought it, we had these abilities, like this extra knowledge about it that was really fun. It really elevated the game. Happy 333, my love. Okay, cool. So exposure prep, great, awesome, I love it. Encourage scheming. Let's get. Okay, I did get that. Encourage scheming, also by Chris McDowell. And I have a feeling there's also going to be excellent. Bastionland Press. Bonk, bonk. Planning and preparing can be fun parts of the game. How do you encourage that with a loosey-goosey system like Into the Odd? Necessity to plan. Huh. Okay, yeah, so you throw in one huge, seemingly impassable obstacle, the most obvious solution, and announce it in plenty of time to react. Opportunity to plan. You can't observe the bank or get hold of floor plans, then it's difficult to have an exciting heist. Keep the difficulty high, but give them as much information as they can take. Most importantly, for things that are really difficult. Yeah, that's really interesting, man. Ingredients for that. Okay, so he's talking about kind of, yeah, it's kind of like heist based. So I am gonna tag it with heist. This also, no, not checklist, you nerd. Heist. Create heist. Also, I think this is going to go under the information sharing category. Also DM advice, I think. And maybe even seems like it's kind of like dungeon. You know, I wrote it as dungeon creation, but I really feel it actually should be dungeon design. Is it possible for me to? Yeah, I'll have to look at that later. Okay, why setting high stakes matters. Let's see if we have the original article for that. Do this, and that is by Sean McCoy of Mothership fame. It's kind of crazy, like seeing like the authors of these articles names, right, and then like going like, oh yeah, that tracks. Mothership, Troika, Mythic Bastionland into the Electric Bastionland, like, you know, all prolific creators. Ben Milton's Knave. So yeah, it's cool. It seems like getting published in Knock maybe as a correlation to getting kind of broader audience and appeal, which is great. That's awesome. The Merry Mushmen have done well to foster some dope ass stuff. Let's look at this article. Why setting high stakes matters. Had a lot more success recently describing old school RPGs as high stakes rather than high lethality, and here's why. A lot of my new players or casual observers get the idea that high lethality equals arbitrary death. That's fair. Which in my game it doesn't. It means actions have consequences. It's also fair. All benefit of TTRPG to me over, say, a video game is that I have real agency. I can try anything. I can do anything and see what happens. The results of my experiments are always success, or even success anytime I roll 10 plus on 2d6, my actions feel arbitrary. I want my great plans to succeed, and I want my shitty plans to fail. Yeah, that's funny. Here's a Mothership actual play that we did with Board with Life, where the stakes are incredibly high. Yeah, so this is kind of, I guess, I feel like maybe I should just put this in as adventure design. And then, yeah, probably DM advice. And then I'm just going to put like stakes, because I feel like that's a thing I should be looking for. What's the Deal with Igor's Hump by Jack Shear. We have this blog post. We do. Go ahead and paste that. And oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, it's just a simple D10 table. Love it. Love it. So D10. And yeah, we'll call this a mutation. I think D10 mutations is a good, it's reasonable. Igor. Yeah, that's funny. I'm actually going to put comedy on this as well, just because it's obviously trying to be a little tongue-in-cheek and funny. Some ways to kill D&D people. We live in a world without hit points. Death is not a countdown. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. Ways of killing D&D people. Smash Bros HP. Play D&D as normal, but add your damage up. When your damage passes a threshold, save or die. Roll a d100 and roll under your damage total or die. Do this every subsequent instance of getting hurt. Maybe use the old hit dice as the threshold, like wizards start testing at over 4 damage, or alternatively, save every time they take damage, screw the bookkeeping. I see. Damage passes a threshold. Huh. Okay. And then I'm the fucking daddy system. Standard HP, except they are now how you hit things. Gamble your hit points as dice. Each HP spent lets you roll a die, but keep the same number as you usually would. Rolling to hit, spend 3 hit points. Roll 3d20 and pick the best one. Spend 8, roll 8. Keep 1, and so on. All violent action takes energy. At 0 hit points, you are at the whims of the enemy. They can automatically kill you, or the DM can have them do something else, like kidnap you or chop your arms off. Amazing. And then damage dice explodes is the last one. The D4 knife is now interesting. Unsure death is fun. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so this cool article. Put this here. Who wrote this? Daniel Sell. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we're gonna say alternate systems for hit points, death, and then I guess this is, yeah, I don't know, yeah, there's 3 things, so it's not a D3 table, so we'll leave that out. I think that's fine. OSR style challenges. Rulings not rules is insufficient by Arnold K. So, you know what? I'm actually going to remove the Goblin Punch reference from up here just so that this is easier. And I think what I'm probably going to do is make these select so I can easily like reselect authors over and over and be able to group by them, stuff like that. See if we have the rulings, not rules, is insufficient article. We do. Amazing. What contributes to gameplay? You need an incomplete system. Rulings. You also need a system that supports rulings. 2 parts to this. Interesting. Okay, so this kind of comes back to, I think, DM advice, adventure design, dungeon creation. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read this one, sit around and read this one to really understand everything that's in it, but seems good. So we will leave that there, and I may come back to this one and kind of retag it. My Goblins Are. This is by Fiona Maeve Geist. Fiona Maeve Geist. And we should have... Okay, so it's just a random table. Asks for a D13. Do I have a D13? Let me check my bag. I don't know if I have a D13 or not. Dungeon Crawl Classics dice. D16. Yeah, I'm not seeing any D13s in here. I don't know what a D13 is. 13-sided die. Okay. D13 specialist dice. Maybe I do have one. I definitely have dice that look like that. Is this a... No. No. Pretty sure that's a D12. This is a D16. You know, I'm gonna double check my big bag and see if I can find one. Anyway, yeah, I guess we are D13 and D100, and this will be monster creation theory, I think. Roll a D24. That many. Okay, I'll have to read that one in physical in meat space to make sense of it, I think. All right, The Labors of Hercules as OSR obstacles. This is by Ben Milton. And article here. Arnold has been talking about what makes OSR adventure an OSR adventure. In particular, a good OSR adventure challenge looks like. Okay. So yeah, so he's just listing out the different challenges of Heracles, sorry, and how they, how they reflect the goals of play, basically. So it's going to goals of play. I think it'll go under DM advice, and it will include adventure design, and then also I guess it could be Greek, like maybe ancient Greek, and like mythology. That seems fine. What do the monsters want? Oh, that's Sean McCoy. So almost certainly. Okay, so we got monster reaction table here from the basic rulebook. Right. Cool. What do the monsters want? Yeah, so he produces a D10 table here for what they want. That's pretty cool. So sorry, let me put Sean McCoy. And this will be this is about wandering monsters. It is a D10 table. It's also about reaction, like monster reactions, I guess. That'll work. What do the monsters want? Let's put a link here. Bonk. And our last one for the day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm going to bounce right after this, but I'm glad that you came. And I hope you found this useful. Even if it was super janky, I'm going to see if I can get the fixed, updated version of this PDF. Or maybe I'll just open it in. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to try and make this work. Who is Vagabundork? Vagabundork. Save versus actual death. As magicuser.wordpress. If your game is a little too lethal, you might want to consider a way to spare an adventurer's insignificant life, just like when you burn ants with a magnifying glass and allow one to preserve its life. God, that's so mean. Save versus actual death, sort of. At the player's choice, if his first level character dies in combat, once the encounter is over, he has the option of sacrificing something in exchange for saving his life. Jeff Rance proposes a saving throw versus death, but I would skip that roll. The character falls and is given up for dead, but miraculously he's managed to keep one hit point. If at the end of the encounter a TPK has occurred, or if the fallen one is the first character created by the player for this campaign, this homemade rule is ignored. Roll a d3 or choose. You lose equipment, treasure, or physical integrity. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's too crazy. I think that goes under alternate system death, right? Alternate system for death. Pretty easy. Yeah, you know what? I'm feeling like maybe this is a good idea right here that we've caused. This could be really cool. So I want to get through at least issue 1 before I make this public, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit and verify with the stakeholders that this is okay to publish as it exists here. And yeah, if you enjoyed this at all, I hope you will click the like button. If you want to see other videos like this, you should subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified. I don't usually do live streams, but when I do, I will try and post on Blue Sky. I'm usually pretty bad about knowing when I'm going to go live, just because the whim will take me, and I'll be like, I'm going to go fuck around on the computer and make things happen. So, but I wanted to do this. If you like Watcher DM, you should support our work by going to patreon.com/WatcherDM. Any tier will get you something. If you have a paid tier, you can get early access to the videos I make. So I do like flip through reviews and tutorials of different systems for like generation and stuff, usually random table things, which I like to do. Yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, there's a Kickstarter going on. Go check out my Kickstarter. If you like high-level D&D or want like a high-level D&D heist adventure, it's called The Privatized Little Hell. It's really good. If you like that sort of thing, you should go back to Kickstarter. I don't even know if there's a link in the description. There should be. I'll put one there if there isn't yet. Thanks. Bye.